This is Dr. Tawari.
And this is Dr. Kochak.
And you're listening to the
Best Podcast Ever.
Broadcasting from Columbus, Ohio, we'll be talking about plastic surgery procedures focusing on only the breast.
Ranging from breast reconstruction to breast enhancement and reduction, we'll cover everything you ever wanted to know about the breast.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Best Podcast Ever. I'm very sad to say Dr. Kochak is not going to be with us on this podcast because he is operating right now, but we're super excited to have Mr. Quincy Williams here. How are you, sir?
I am well. Thanks for having me. How are you?
We're doing good. You know, Quincy is a fantastic coach and physical trainer, kind of lifetime wellness guru. And we thought it'd be really interesting to have him weigh in on how physical fitness works in the post-operative patient. But Quincy, why don't you introduce yourself to our folks?
All right. What's going on, guys? I'm Quincy Williams. I have been in the fitness industry for almost 20 years now. So seen a lot, learned a lot, things changed. I am a master instructor for TRX. So currently right now, that's the big thing. So we're pushing out a lot of content with TRX.
What is TRX for people, Quincy? I don't know if people are familiar with that.
So TRX, if you've been in the gym I'm sure everyone has been going through this whole, pandemic and social media, but TRX is basically suspension training. So probably seeing the black and yellow straps that hang from different anchor points in different gyms. You can hang it at home. So basically what it is it leverages your body weight and teaches you how to use your core. Core is the number one foundational piece that you have to build in order to gain strength, stability, and all that good stuff. So TRX is the number one leader in functional training and functional equipment with that. So uses your body weight. You can maneuver and position your body in different vectors, different pendulums, different everything, and get different resistance on there. So we like to say with TRX, it's scalable and not scary.
Yeah, I've always found it interesting because a lot of our patients, when they're getting back to their normal exercise, a big question is, well, what can I do? What can't I do? And you want people to get back to fitness. You want them to get back to a range of motion and stretching, but without overdoing it. And I feel like when people are using weights, you just have less control.
Right.
Whereas if you're using your own body weight, correct me if I'm wrong, I would imagine it's hard to kind of hurt yourself.
It's a little less risky. The beautiful thing about using your body weight, and I'll throw in TRX with this, is that it teaches you proper movement too. So if you have proper movement, your chances of getting hurt or risk of injury are very, very slim. So I love the fact that once you're able to use your body weight and be able to use your body weight efficiently, then you can go into adding weights or any type of external load. So body weight is best for starting to learn movement, teaching movement, but you can also get pretty strong with that too. So,
because it was developed for the military, wasn't it? TRX. I remember you telling me that one time.
Yes. So the founder, Randy Hetrick, he was a lead in the Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6. When nothing was going on and they were just resting and not in combat, he needed something to keep his men physically active and physically fit and ready for combat. So he took old parachute string or Kevlar and made the first one to where he would just anchor it to an anchor point and start using his body weight as resistance. So he got the whole team on that. Once he was out of the military, he went to school. He went back to Stanford, got his MBA, and boom, there's where TRX was born.
So interesting.
I love it because it has evolved from just this training equipment, this piece of gym equipment, to a whole functional education system. So if you're affiliated with TRX and you're a TRX instructor or a TRX coach, typically you're in good hands and you're in good alignment because it talks to different places to where that you're getting the best. You're benefiting with TRX.
So I recommend body weight exercises a lot to our patients when they're trying to get back into fitness. And sort of the typical scenario for us is we've done an operation where it's either a breast operation, so on the chest wall, or an abdominal operation. And people at about 4 weeks after surgery is when I start them. I always say, go back to about half strength, half magnitude exercises.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really more focused on range of motion and stretching at that stage than I am like lifting weights. So how would you kind of coach somebody through a post-operative recovery phase, trying to optimize their stretching and range of motion?
That's a good question. I think first it's the first thing it really is making sure that patient understands. So a scenario, I had a client who was coming off surgery, and my biggest emphasis was she knew what the protocol was, but my biggest concern was making sure that she understood the why behind it. And the thing about that is you're always ready to get back into play, or you're always ready to get back on the playing field, right? You're always ready to get back to where you started. So post-surgery, it's something a little different. It's a different mindset. So you have to make sure, that's number one, making sure that they understand the reason why. Number two, it's just getting them in the right range so that they feel good. If they can start to feel good and they can start to, open up their shoulders, open up their chest a little bit more, then that gives them a little bit of not only range of motion, but it gets them excited about the next the next step. So I'd rather not just hand them a piece of paper and say, do these stretches. 9 times out of 10, they probably won't do that.
It's a really, really good point because, for example, if you look at the American Board of Breast Surgery, they have range of motion exercises for patients, like putting your hand up against the wall, doing a wall crawl. And it's easy to kind of know what to do. But in my experience, very few people do it. And they don't do it for 2 reasons. Number one, any type of exercise, you've got to have a certain, motivation to do it.
Right.
Number 2, people are really scared about overdoing it and hurting themselves. And one thing I like about having a coach working with them and doing a body weight and a range of motion exercise with something like TRX is people can kind of gradually increase their stretching. They can increase the range of motion and have somebody there who can kind of guide them through the exercises, where I really find that patients, when they're trying to work on range of motion by themselves, they have trouble. And the scenario you don't want to get into is now it's 6 weeks, 2 months after surgery. They've been too scared or too uncertain to do those exercises. And now they're coming in with decreased range of motion, frozen shoulder. That's a bad problem.
Right. And it puts them behind the 8 ball in terms of time too. So that's probably another few weeks of recovery that they're going to have to do. So, overall big picture, bringing those things up, is something that the patient may have a little bit more success with adhering to the program of stretching. So you're absolutely right. I think another point is most people, they'll see a stretch and they'll try to do it or they'll attempt to do it, but they're not understanding what right feels like, basically, or what it looks like. So let's say you're doing a chest stretch, and I see this a lot in the industry. I'm sure you've seen it as well. So people get into a chest stretch and automatically, immediately, they think that you have to open it up as big as possible, right?
Sure.
And doing that, like, a lot of times your body isn't ready for that. So again, to your point, having a coach there that kind of understands the importance and the benefits of stretching will be able to help guide through, okay, we may not need as much range of motion right now. Let's slowly get into this range of motion so that if anything happens and you have an automatic stretch where it exceeds your range of motion, you'll be okay. So I find that helpful. I think the other piece is that if you're in person with a trainer or with a coach, that coach should stretch you right then and there. So, that would kind of help in regards to a daily routine with stretching. If you can get someone to help stretch you and facilitate your stretch 2 or 3 times a week, 9 times out of 10, you'll be more likely to do them on the days where you're not with your coach.
Yeah, you and I have talked about this, particularly as people get older, how important stretching is, particularly for your the lower extremities, your kind of posterior calf chain. People are always tight in the hamstrings and the psoas muscle, and being able to stretch those areas makes a big difference in flexibility, particularly as you get older. But I want to come back to one point that I think for me is a common misunderstanding about body weight exercises. I think a lot of people think body weight is something like a chin up, which is all or nothing. But there's a lot of ways to modify body weight exercises. And I think that's really important in postoperative patients, because one thing I tell people is It's okay to do exercises, but if you're feeling uncomfortable, if you're feeling tender, then it's too much. It's much like when you break a bone. If you're tender where you broke your bone, your fracture isn't healed yet.
Right.
And soft tissue is the same. If you're uncomfortable, if you're tender, you're still healing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's that 4 to 6 week range that I tell people to get back to exercise. But maybe talk to folks, how can you modify some of these exercises so that it's not all or nothing?
That's great. Like telling your patients that, if they're still tender, they're not healed all the way. I think something as simple as we can go into a bodyweight exercise such as the plank. And that's like the most basic exercise. So I'll get patients and I'll get clients and I'll come in and I'll have them do a plank. Most people want to see who can hold it the longest, right?
Sure.
But in building that foundational muscle or that foundational piece, really, if you can exert all your force, all your energy, all your resistance for 10 seconds and then come down out of that, that's 10 seconds of all out core engagement that you've just done. You can do that up to 4 or 5 times, and you're talking a minute plank and not just a minute plank, but a minute of full all out, full exertion plank. So
a minute plank is I can't do a minute plank. I can tell you that right now. That's not easy.
It's tough. I think that they would like a gold standard of fitness, in which it really isn't. You can hurt your back pretty bad if you're trying for a minute plank. I guess the point is, if you can do a minute plank, but you can break it down in simple terms into 10 seconds, take 10 seconds, then take 3 seconds off, get right back up there, 10 seconds, take it back off. And to your point, if you're still sore, the goal isn't to work out until you get sore. You should be able to do some sort of physical activity on a day-to-day basis, but coming off of post-surgery, that's a little different. So you'll need to modify a little bit, and that's one way that you can do that.
I love that comment, Quincy. I want you to say it again for people in the back. You don't have to do something until you're sore. And I think that's I don't know if it's like an American thing or what, we kind of push it until it hurts.
And, the bad thing about that is that's the goal for some people. I'm going to go into the gym and I can't leave until I crawl out, or I'll hear different conversations. That was brutal. I killed it in the gym. I'm so sore. I'm so tired. I don't want to be sore personally. I want to be able to go along with my life and have a good, smooth day. I don't want to be sore from any of that stuff. Now, granted, there's going to be times where you're going to be sore. You're working different muscles. But for the most part, if you're sore every day, then you might be you're doing too much. So
yeah, if there's really one point that I think I'd love for patients to understand is getting back to exercise doesn't mean that you have to get back to 150%. In fact, most people, I don't think, exercise correctly. I mean, again, I'm not an expert, but, I know for a long time, I was told, if you're not sore, if you're not exhausted after your workout, well, then you weren't really working out. And I feel like the older I've gotten, the less I believe that.
I am the same way. I feel like, I don't want to say it's bad advice, but it's not something I really listen to. So just like you said, I mean, the goal is not to be sore, and the goal is not to 100% crush your workout. I mean, really, the goal is not to put up a zero, so you can go to the gym or not even to the gym. You can do your workout, and maybe that day you're just not feeling it. You're just not feeling it. You've had a bad day. You've broken your vacuum or whatever. You just don't feel it. But doing it anyway, doing something, doing anything, and even if you were supposed to crush that workout, just don't put up a zero. I mean, that's the goal. That really is the goal, and having some sort of plan with it. So if your goal for the day is just to move, just get some movement. I mean, you don't have to pick up the heaviest dumbbell and do squats or anything. You can go for a walk. You could do squats. You could do bodyweight squats. There's so many different things that you can do for that movement. You just don't want to put up a zero or think that you have to bring 100% to the table every time you go through a workout. Your body isn't just not going to do it. So understanding that mindset is what helps.
I mean, I'll tell you what happens for me. If I do a hard 1 hour workout Monday, Wednesday, Friday, there's a good chance I'm going to be sore after that Wednesday workout, and I may skip that Friday workout.
Right.
Whereas if I do, but that's best case scenario, that's, 3 hours of working out.
Mm-hmm.
If I do, 5 30-minute workouts, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it's 2.5 hours total, but I'm more likely to be consistent.
Absolutely.
And I think over the course of many months and years, that consistency makes a big difference, and you're not going to get hurt with that type of strategy.
Right. Absolutely. I think you hit the nail right on the head. I mean, you don't have to go in and do the full hour. You can do 30-minute quick workout at the beginning of the day. Like, that's usually the best. If you're not a day person, it's all good. I mean, just being able to get it in. But I feel like that, what you just said, is more advantageous versus doing 3 1-hour workouts every day. 1, you build your consistency. 2, it's quicker. You'll reach your goal too. You'll reach your goal a little bit faster due to the consistency. You won't get injured. You'll have less chance of injury, especially if you're doing a lot of body weight exercises. And then your body just adapts to it and it becomes stronger over time. So I 100% agree with that.
So that's a question, that comes up. You just said when you work out in the morning, when's the best time to work out?
Honestly, the real answer, the best time to work out is whenever you can get it in and stay consistent. But to your point, so I'll use myself as an example, and I don't want to get too technical, but I typically work out in the morning primarily because, 1, my day's pretty hectic. 2, your brain is the most active in the morning. The most active in the morning. And studies show that when you add physical activity to your routine, your brain becomes a little bit more active, you're more alert, get those endorphins basically. So it's more of a double dose. So I'm a little bit more clear-minded, a little bit more awake, a little bit more aware. Great workouts. And also the point that people probably want to hear is it actually boosts your metabolism. It increases your metabolism if you can work out. Primarily because you're getting up and you're adding physical activity. You haven't eaten anything, but you're adding physical activity. Once you're done with your workout and you start your first meal of the day, that meal is going to increase your metabolism. I don't want to say by 5%, but it definitely increases your metabolism, which in turn helps build muscle, lean muscle, which in turn decreases body fat.
That's such an important point, the metabolism point for our patients, many of whom are cancer patients. They're on tamoxifen, which is a estrogen-like hormone, and all these things, particularly as patients go through chemotherapy, I think it does impact their metabolism. Many patients will, put on weight that, they'll say, my diet didn't really change, but I was on all this treatment for my cancer and it's really affected my, my weight gain. And I'm almost certain it has something to do with their metabolism change. Absolutely. Because of these, medications. So I think that metabolism comment is important if exercising in the morning improves your metabolism.
It definitely does. And once you're done with it, you're done. You can go about your day. That's one of the most important things. So I don't want to switch gears to goal setting or anything, but like when I sit down with clients and do consultations and I'll ask what some of their goals are, and you'll hear things, lose 10 pounds, 15, 20, whatever, lose body fat. After we do all the gathering, a lot of times I'll let them know about the metabolism. I'll start to talk about how important it is to increase your metabolism in order to get all of these different goals. So for the most part, anything that's going to be goal related is always going to tie back to your metabolism and where it is now and how you can increase it if need be.
So a lot of our patients, in terms of their goals, we will talk to them about a program of weight loss to either kind of get them ready for surgery, or, like I said, they've put on weight during treatment and now they want to get back to what their normal weight was. What is a safe weight loss progression? What is a good and healthy rate to lose weight?
It really all depends on how much you have to lose. So generally, it's good to lose between 1 and 2 pounds a week. The average person can lose a pound a week. If you have a little bit more to lose, you can lose 2 to 5 pounds a week. But safe range is about a pound. And I feel like that's where a lot of diets come in, or a lot of crash course or a lot of quick fix diets, is because some of these diets, while they may work, are they working for the right reasons? What is it doing internally to your body? And more importantly, is it teaching you a healthy lifestyle? Because if you are, and don't get me wrong, we've all detoxed and done different things like that. But finding the next best crash course diet or the next big thing is great, but it limits that relationship with food, and it doesn't really teach you the progression on how to do this for a lifetime. So I don't tell any of my clients hardly how much weight that they should lose. If they tell me that they want to lose 5 pounds, then, we put together plans for 5 pounds. But the message to them is, hey, you're not going to lose this 5 pounds this week. It all depends on, again, metabolism. It depends on your current weight, how much you have to lose. And really it's going to be the consistency with the two.
Yeah. And I always say losing weight is hard. I mean, it is very hard. And the worst time that you can ever think of to lose weight is when you've been hit with a cancer diagnosis, right, or you're sick and you're not feeling well. I mean, it's a terrible time to worry about weight loss. So I think, understanding that it's okay to have a slow progression, just as long as you have some type of a plan, right, that you can stick to and that works for you. And I think another very common misconception, I know I was under this kind of myth for a long time. When it comes to diet versus exercise, what's more important to lose weight in a healthy way?
Man, that's a 50-50 question.
Yeah.
But if it were me, I would say exercise. Primarily because exercise is going to do more than just help you lose weight. It's going to build strength. It's going to help you with movement and reduce injury.
Yeah.
So those are all primary things that people want, that we all want to have. But if you focus on your exercise, if you focus on just exercise and say, hey, I'm going to eat whatever I want, then, you may have been blessed with great genes and a great metabolism and an iron stomach to just put things away and be good. However, if you're not watching what you're eating and you're exercising and doing everything else, but not watching your diet, that can lead to a whole nother diagnosis of health concerns. Cancer, one of them.
Yeah, and we do worry about people diet restricting in the context of postoperative healing. I had a lady not too long ago who, in her mind was eating very healthy, but was avoiding a lot of protein, was really relying a lot on farro and other types of beans. I'm not even sure what farro is, to be honest, but it was a big part of her diet. And she had a lot of issues healing. We kind of moved her diet around to a higher protein diet. And honestly, within a week, she had made dramatic progress in her healing. So I think, again, coming up with a plan is really difficult. And that's what, we do. We kind of talk to patients about, but then having them see people like you, people like Lauren Blake, who's the nutritionist that we work with, it makes such a big difference, because these are really complicated things for people in their normal everyday. And then you put on top of that surgery and a diagnosis, it makes it so overwhelming for people.
Yeah. You definitely, I think the advantage is being able to spread the network a little bit. So having someone in your corner to coach you on nutrition, your metabolism, and what that means. Having someone in your corner to coach you on fitness, exercise, movement, what that looks like in terms or how it relates to your goals. And everyone being on the same page with that, it definitely helps the patient, but it also helps the industry too. I feel like there's a lot of individuals or professionals who are a little hesitant on expanding their network or pushing one of their clients out to someone else. As fitness professionals and as health professionals, our goal is to make sure that our clients and our patients are in the best shape or in the best condition that they can be. And if it's outside of our scope of practice, then we need to, make sure that they have the right resources versus just winging it on their own, because like you said, and just earlier, you had someone who could be thinking that they think that they're eating well. They may be eating the right foods, but what does the nutritional value look like? What's the macros look like? That's our job to coach our clients and our patients on that. So,
do apps like MyFitnessPal, are those good things for people? Are those kind of tracking apps? Do they work?
I think they do. I use it. I don't use it as often just because I've been doing this for so long, and I pretty much eat very typical. It's usually the same thing. But for any beginner who's going on this health journey, or not even a beginner, but just someone who's interested in knowing one, how to use MyFitnessPal, but really seeing the trend on your own eating patterns. So I'll tell a client, hey, if we're just starting, I need to see, if we're talking metabolism, I need to see what their metabolism is doing. And the only way to do that is to track the food and track how many meals that they're eating or what they're eating. You don't have to do it every day. You can do it 3 to 4 times consistently. And that typically tells a trend on how your eating patterns are. And you can kind of tailor see what your metabolism looks like from that end, and then be able to tweak your calories in relation to what it looks like to your metabolism.
I like MyFitnessPal. I mean, I use it every once in a while. And I feel like you can't really measure your progress if you're not measuring
what you're eating.
Yeah, you're measuring what you're eating.
Yeah, exactly. I think it does a good job in telling you what those macros look like. So what's your proteins, your fats, your carbohydrates, all those things. I think they do a fantastic job on telling the story, but it's also an eye-opener to your patients and clients when they see what they're actually doing. You know, the little snacking here and there, we may not think it's a lot, but when you add it into MyFitnessPal, you've eaten 12 cookies over the course of a day, you know, and that type of stuff adds up. So
yeah, people always ask, what can or can I not eat, you know, in the context of a surgery? And I kind of tell them all the stuff that, you know, we learn as kids we're supposed to eat. Whole foods, you know, fruits and vegetables, grains, avoid the processed flour, the processed sugar, the processed kind of soda pop, that kind of stuff. You know, I think the lower your glycemic index generally, I think it's going to optimize your healing, the more protein you have. And I don't think carbohydrates are bad. You just don't want processed carbohydrates.
Right. Everything is good in moderation. I know that's kind of cliche, but
definitely easier said than done. No question about it.
Right. There's a lot of energy out there, right? So I tell a lot of clients that look at, if we're talking about carbohydrates, you look at that in terms of energy. So energy expended, energy, you know. So if you're not really doing anything, if you're sitting at work from 9 to 5 for the most part of your day and you're sitting in the chair, you're not really expending a whole lot of energy. So therefore, you don't need a whole lot of energy. So you don't need a whole lot of carbs, basically. But if you're getting ready to work out or getting ready to do something physically challenged, then that's when you could probably start getting a little bit of those carbohydrates in there. And some of them can be refined or processed in that regard because your body's going to burn right through it. But in most typical fashions, your carbs, like you said, should be more the starchy stuff, potatoes, the grains, more things with fiber. You know, you're going to find a lot of the carbs with all that good stuff. So,
yeah, I want to change tracks a little bit here. You know, we're kind of rolling out here in Ohio on this pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's weird because, you know, we're seeing it in the hospital. We've kind of made adjustments in terms of how many people we'll see. We're doing a lot of telehealth. We're limiting people in our waiting area, in our office. We're sort of testing before any operations, but we're just about to start rolling out gyms.
Right.
So how's that going to work?
Well, it's going to be tricky. So May 26th is the official date where we can start opening gyms. And currently right now, I am in the middle of building guidelines and processes for 2 gyms. And right now, there's no, like I said, there's no guidelines. So we're moving this thing as we go. So what we know from the whole pandemic, we just have to stay in front of. So extra hand sanitizer, extra mats. One thing that I'm looking into are gloves. They don't really have to be exercise or weight gloves, but more like latex gloves so that you can still work out and not feel restricted.
Can you work out with a mask? You can't really work out with a mask, can you?
You can, but it's not for everyone. So I
guess depends on what you're doing.
Right. Now, there are studies that show if you can restrict your airflow, your oxygen, it builds your endurance. So, but you have to be in like more high climate or high altitude stuff. So, but wearing a mask is going to be really, really challenging for most people. So the big thing is if we can have either a mask or gloves, we've got to have some sort of protection. So that's where we're doing. That's where we're at right now in terms of gloves. The thing is, you're going to have people who were in the gym and now they're a little suspect about going back. So that's going to be the trick too. So you're going to have some individuals who are going to be on the fence. They're going to be people who can't wait to get back. such as myself, and you're going to have people who used to love it and still do, but don't really want to go back into that type of environment. So being able to accommodate those individuals, such as virtual workouts, I think that's going to be the next big wave that you'll see as well. So being able to host virtual workouts as well as online workouts, but being able to manage who's in your building, who's in your gym, and how many people are going to be in there. Those are going to be the tricky things to navigate.
Yeah, my wife's already said she's not going to, I mean, she loves Orange Theory Fitness. She's not going to go back to Orange Theory Fitness because she's worried about being in that sort of enclosed space with a lot of people. You're breathing heavy, you're aerosolizing, a lot of very heavily when you're working out. So yeah, she's already said no more Orange Theory Fitness for her. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like that. They're going to be really worried.
Yep, there are going to be a lot of people like that. And it's going to be tough for gym owners and clubs their times are going to have to be altered probably as well, because you're going to need to clean some of the equipment in between classes. What pieces of equipment are you sharing? What pieces of equipment should not be shared? Those are going to be some different subjects that that we need to tackle as well. So it's a hurdle, but I feel like we can get through it. I think the big thing is seeing how the first week goes, seeing the strengths, the weaknesses, some of the mistakes, and being able to alter it is going to be the big thing that we'll see. But it shouldn't take us long to figure out a definitive plan. But we know what this thing does. We know how it spreads, and we know the precautionaries that we need to take. It's just putting those precautionaries in place.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate. We just have to find the right way to deal with the problem. And that means employing, best practices and safety protocols. And you've got to do it in healthcare. You've got to do it in the fitness industry. You've got to do it in restaurants. It's just something that we all have to, use our brains to figure out. It just doesn't mean we can't do it. We just have to be smart.
Right. And learn from, it's unfortunate, but learn from others' mistakes too. Some of the things people are doing may be something that you thought about doing, but they are starting to and may not comply with social distancing laws. So learning from that, but I really feel like this is the thing. This is going to be the thing that moves the needle within the next few months is seeing how the gyms open and how the fitness professionals and the health professionals navigate it. But definitely putting protocols, guidelines in place so where the members and staff can see and it's clearly communicated.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who want to get back in the gym, but I bet you there's just as many people who are nervous to go back.
Yeah.
And it's important for people to, again, I'm talking about our patients, to get back to exercise, to get back to feeling like they've got strength and range of motion, because more than just the functional piece, it's a huge mental piece to feeling active and feeling healthy. Mm-hmm. And I think really for patients who've just had a surgery and chemotherapy, for so many patients, like the ability to get back to the gym is like a major milestone for them.
Absolutely.
It's like capturing being your normal state one more time.
Yeah. And there's no better feeling just knowing that you've been somewhere, you've had a setback, but you've been able to come back from that setback and even become your best self. And I feel like it's even better when you have guys like yourself, like good coaches, good healthcare professionals that give out good information and good advice and, really try to do the best for their patients. So appreciate that.
Well, Quincy, I appreciate you and thank you for spending the time with us here on the Best Podcast Ever. Let people know, how can they find you?
Oh, wow. So you can find me on social media, Instagram. I am Q Fitness Training, LinkedIn, Quincy Williams, as well as Facebook, Quincy Williams. So,
and as always, we're going to add links to the podcast for people to find. But Quincy, stay safe out there, and I'll see you myself soon. Thanks for spending time with us.
All right. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you found this episode helpful.
Want more info? Connect with us at mwbreast.com.
And go behind the scenes with us on Instagram at mwbreast. Thanks for tuning in.
And join us next week.